So welcome to Google Docs. This is the first application that we'll be going through over the next 30 or 40 minutes. So in this training document, there are some features here that I've already, or some items that I've already placed here. This is just for training purposes as well. This is to also help us out, look at the different tips and tricks that we can use using Google Docs. So let's start off first, okay? So in Google Docs, it's basically your Microsoft Word on the cloud or in the cloud. Using Google Docs, we can create different documents. We can add different images, pictures, videos using Google Docs. And we have those different features here. So here's the interface. You'll have your toolbar here and your share button here. Now, by default, usually documents are on private mode. Now, if you'd like to share this with other people, you can just simply click the share button and you can add different people here. So I have Alex here and I have some people whom I've connected with in the past, and you can basically share those with them. Now, once you share the document with the person, you can click whether they could be an editor, meaning that they can edit the document. They could just be a viewer, so that means they cannot edit anything on your Google Doc, or they can be a commenter. So a commenter is a bit different because this time they can add or they can suggest different parts, or they can add on to your document as well. And as the owner of that document, you will see that there are some suggestions that they added into that document. So as a commenter can basically suggest or add on to this document without making it official. So how would it look like? If I go here to the bottom of the share button, there is what's known as the editing mode. It looks like this pencil right here. If I click this pencil, I have the same features as well. So if I click suggestions and I start typing up something, hi everyone. Now that I've added something to this document, you'll see that the text is in green. So right now it's not official yet in this document, but let's say I want to add this document or this comment into the document itself. I could accept the suggestion. So this is quite helpful if you are working on different documents. Let's say you're working on a lesson plan or working on a unit plan, and your coordinator wants to add something but doesn't want to make it official yet. So that coordinator can just click on suggesting. And you, as the owner of the document, can choose to whether accept that suggestion or reject that suggestion. Okay, so that's the first feature, or that's one of the first features I want to share with you. So I will reject the suggestion for now. So now that we know how to suggest different app or different parts in the Google document, I'll switch myself back to editing. So now I have edit access, and if I type that, hi everyone again, it's now officially part of this document. Okay. So first trick that I want to share with you, since we're using Google Docs for, let's say, a lot of research, I know maybe in the visual arts or performing arts, it's something that you're looking into for doing research or having students do papers. So in Google Docs, it makes use of Google's search engine to really help you out with research. So when we use Google Docs, let's say I want to do a research on synchronous and asynchronous learning. And over the course of my research, I was able to find like different resources. Now, one of the things that when we do research is that we want to be able to cite information from that research, or we want to cite sources. So instead of, let's say, having to open another tab and then typing up asynchronous and synchronous learning, and then having to look at all of these different websites, what I can do with Google Docs is I will highlight this passage first, or this phrase. And then if you'll notice here at the bottom, there's what's known as the Explore tab. Now, if I go ahead and click that Explore tab, it will open another sidebar here. And in that sidebar, I can type up my synchronous and asynchronous learning. Okay. All right. So a while ago, one of the first items that I saw was this thebestschools.org, synchronous learning versus asynchronous learning online. So if I go back here, it's actually one of the first items on the Google search. Now, if I go ahead and click this, it will open that tab. It will open a new tab, and it will bring me to the article itself. And then I can use that article. Let's say I'd like to get this passage here. I'll highlight it, and then I'll copy and paste it. Okay. So now that I've copied and pasted, I want to be able to cite that reference. So going back to this sidebar here, you'll notice there's now an apostrophe, a quotation mark here. And if I click on that, I will cite it as a footnote. So now you can see that in this Google Doc, it created a footnote right here. You'll see that number 1. If I scroll at the bottom, you'll notice that it has already created a citation for me. So synchronous and asynchronous, synchronous learning versus asynchronous learning in online dot. So it was created. It has all of the information as well. Now, if you're still conducting research and you don't like that format that they use, we go back here in the sidebar, you'll notice these 3 dots here. If I click on that 3 dots, it will be able to change the citation format from MLA, APA, and even Chicago. So I can choose to change that. And then if I cite it again, it should give me this format here. So now it's in an APA format. Now let's go back to this passage that I copied earlier on. If you'll notice that the text isn't exactly the same as the text of the rest of the document. If you'll notice here, we have Arial 11, but then here we have Arial 15. And if you can look at your screens really well, there's like that gray highlight here. And we want to be able to remove that gray highlight because it would obviously mean that we've just copied and pasted this off the internet. And of course, as teachers, we're quite strict with the formatting. One way that you can clear that kind of formatting is simply by highlighting it. And then if you'll go here, it's called the text styles. It's right beside the font style, the font face. So if I click on this, it will give me different options: title, subtitle, heading 1, 2, 3, and different options as well. So if I click on normal text and I click on apply normal text, it will make this text into the text that we are currently using right now. So it's just transformed it into a normal text. That's the different text styles. Now, if I can also change it to be a title if it's really big, subtitle, heading 1, heading 2, and all the others. So I go back to changing it to normal text. Okay. So that's basically conducting research and making bibliographies on Google Docs. So next step that I'll show you is adding images into your Google Docs. So for example, I have these different titles here. So teacher, school, and expert. Now, normally what we do with Google when adding images into a Google Doc is we go first to, let's say, a Google tab, and then we search for teacher. Okay, and then after that, we'd search for images, and then we'd have to let's say, okay, so we have an image of the teacher, and then I click on it, and then I'll save the image into my downloads. And then usually it would take that long. And then once we go back to the document, I'd insert an image, and then I'd upload from the computer. That's usually the long process of creating or adding images into your Google Docs. However, since we are using a Google app, why not we leverage the use of a Google search engine by using the search engine itself? So if I were to click insert, I now have different options. So initially we would always use upload from the computer, but we can also use search the web. If we have pictures from our Google Drive, we can also do that. We can add it. We can add images from our Google Drive. If you use photos, Google Photos, um, especially if you upload all of your classroom photos onto photos.google.com, then you'll have access to it as well. Um, if you know the URL, such as like when we used the Google search bar a while ago, then you can use that also. And even your own web camera. But for this training, let's use the search the web function. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click the search the web function. And now it will open the sidebar again. And I'd like to search for teacher. Okay, and now I have different images here that show the images that I want. So I wanted teacher. And if you'll notice, these images are a bit different from the images that we had initially searched earlier on. Do know that when you search for images on Google Docs or any form at all of the images that you see here are copyright free. That means you can use it. You can use it without having to acknowledge the source. So these are images that are available for everybody to use. Okay. So if I click on teacher, I will. If I click on that, I can insert it. But let's say I want to add more images, I can just keep on clicking it. So now I have 3 selected images, and I simply insert it. So it's taking a bit of a while, but there you have it. You now have the images that you searched on Google or used Google Images as a search. Okay. Okay. So since this is an online document will that we're using, some of the things that we can add onto our documents is like using different links to different parts of the document. So in this Google Hyperdoc, I've created a bookmark here to bring me to different parts of the document. Let's say as a department, you're meeting and you'd like to have meeting notes for all of the, or minutes of the meetings for all of those. So you can add a bookmark so that you can easily go to different parts of your document. So let's say this is a 50-page document already. You can use the bookmark feature to bookmark certain parts of the document. So how do we add a bookmark into our document? So let's say um, let's remove this bookmark first. And then I go here to my toolbar and I click on insert. And then here at the bottom, you'll see bookmark. So if I click on bookmark, you'll see that it now has this icon right beside it. Okay. And then if I want to be able to go to this bookmark quite easily, I can link this document back to, let's say, a specific word in that document. So since the bookmark no longer exists because I deleted it, I can edit the link. So now that we have it here, I'll highlight it. I can right click, and then I'll simply tap or click link. In the link, I have these different options here. If you've been using headings as part of your text styles earlier on, you can use different parts of your document by linking it here. If you have used bookmarks in the past, you can also use the bookmarks. So I placed a bookmark earlier on. So if I click on that, the Google Hyperdoc, and I click on apply, now if I click on this link again, it will bring me to that part of the Google Doc. Okay. So that's one way that you can add a Google or a bookmark into your Google Doc. Okay. Now, here's something that I want you guys to try and explore first. It's also a good idea for your asynchronous classes or even for your synchronous classes. It's called a Google Hyperdoc. So this is the Google Hyperdoc. It's there's actually a book written about it. It's called the Hyperdoc Handbook. You can buy it on Amazon or from Book Depository, and it gives a lot of good ideas on how to use Google Docs creatively. So what is a Google Hyperdoc? Basically, it's a Google document with links to different resources. And these links are categorized into, let's say, different activities or different types of resources that students can access at any time. So in this sample that I've shared with you, it's basically how it's inquiring on a topic on how bees are actually good for humans and how they can be used to like improve the environment. And so initially, the teacher has like these different activities. So it starts off with a question. These could be the questions that you can be using inside or for your lesson. And then next up are the different activities, such as this ideas playlist. So with a partner, watch some videos of the link above, post ideas you are curious about to explore further here. And so it's linked to a Padlet. And then you have different activities also. And it also has links to a shared Google document that you can basically dump your ideas in. And then, so more and more hyperlinks added into it. So basically, a hyperdoc is a document with lots of hyperlinks or links to different activities, resources, applications that you want students to make use of. So that's one way that you can use or leverage Google Docs in your asynchronous classes. You can have it could be in a Google Hyperdoc where you have all of these links for the students at hand, and then you make use of the different Google suite of apps to help your students present what they've learned. Another tip or another trick that I'd like to show you teachers is transforming links. So earlier this morning, we made use of this resource from what do you call this? What is that resource? That resource is synchronous learning versus asynchronous learning in online environments. And then we had this link here, the best schools. So most of the time in our Google Doc, we would put in links to different websites or resources that we've found or that our students have found. Now, normally, this is what we would see in our Google Docs. So if I were to scroll to that to that link, or if I were to click on that link, you'll notice that the link would have this initially. It would just be the title, and then you have different options of copying the link, editing the link, or removing the link. Now, in recent months, or just a couple of weeks ago also, Google has leveraged its Google search engine to also provide you, teachers, or anybody viewing the document with this quick preview already of the website that they've just, or that the student has just pasted on to the document. Now that you can see the preview of the document, and it gives you an idea, okay, this is what the student was searching about. Now, Google has also taken this a little bit further by adding this suggestion here. replace the URL with its title. And it gives me an option to actually replace it. And the title of the website is this, synchronous learning versus asynchronous learning. So if I were to click that yes button, it has now changed from a link, a web link, to the actual title of the website itself. So that's one way. So instead of having to guess like what that website is all about, especially if your students are doing a lot of research or they're just dumping different resources, and you don't like want to keep on clicking and clicking those links and having to open numerous tabs, you can just use the preview button or the preview of that link by clicking on the link or clicking on the link, and then you'll see the preview there as well. Now, going back also, we can also make sure that students replace those URLs with appropriate titles so that we also know what to expect when we view that document. Transform the URL into its website title, suddenly the Explore button became active. Sometimes Google uses its algorithms in its applications to also give you suggestions as well. So if I were to click on this Explore button, it will give me more topics. It can even give me research about what I was searching all about. And then if I click on this plus button, it will insert text to provide me with that definition. Okay. And since I added the text into my document, you'll notice that there's a new footnote that was added. And if I look at here below, voila, you now have a new footnote with the citation added. Next step, creating automatic table of contents. To create a table of content, we just simply click Insert, and then here at the bottom, so underneath Bookmark, you have Table of Contents, and then it gives you two options. It gives you one with page numbers or one with blue links. So if your students are going to print this out, it will create a Google Doc with different with the page numbers already. Now, as this Google document gets longer and longer, you'll notice that there is this refresh button here. So if I were to move this using Google Keep and Tasks button, let's say somewhere very, very far, so now it's on page 14, I just simply click the refresh button and see the page numbers have been refreshed as well. So that's one way that your students can, or you as well, if you're doing research, can use the table of contents to update so that you don't have to do it anymore. Going back, table of contents. So that's one with the numbers. We can also include another one with just the links. So if your students are not going to print this and they're going to be sharing this like as a PDF, you can simply just click on those different links that will bring you to the specific part of the Google Doc. Last tip and trick for sharing. So using Google Keep and Google Tasks. You'll notice here in the right side, the farthest right, you have three icons. You have Calendar, Keep, and Tasks. So with Google Keep is basically your notes or your reminders app. Your note-taking app. So you can have like different notes for this document. So within that Google Keep, you'll have like different notes or reminders. And if you actually go to the Google Keep app or the Google Keep page, you'll see all of your notes from different documents all the way here. So anything that you need to work out or anything that you need reminders for. Okay? You can also share this with other people as well by adding collaborators. Now, another thing apart from Google Keep is Google Remind or Google Tasks. Sorry. Okay, in Google Tasks, you can create different lists for your tasks. So those are your Google Tasks. And every time you open this document, it will show you the tasks that are specifically to that document as well. If you're on the go, you can also use voice typing. So it uses the microphone in your computer to actually transcribe documents. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Google document training. So you can see that the current document is actually transcribing everything that I am saying. So there, you now have a way for you also learn or to do voice typing.